What's up, YouTube? Minnie Minchino here, and welcome back to the Minnycast. For those who are new, this is the weekly podcast vlog type show where I share with you some updates and stuff, excuse me, and talk to you about something for, 10 20 minutes. It's usually just some sort of random topic relevant to whatever's on my mind at the time kind of deal. And yeah, I've got a few things to talk about today before we get into the Q&A. This is episode 50, so I wanted this to be a Q&A, and we don't have too many questions today, but that's fine. We've got enough that I can work with here. And yeah, I feel like it's going to be pretty good. Before I get into any of that though, I just wanted to talk about the 24-hour charity live stream that we had on the Unknown Empire Twitch channel. On Friday to Saturday. I'm recording this on Saturday, like almost immediately after the stream, so yeah. It was great, actually. Everything went super well. We had tons of people come out and donate and just sort of hang out and chill. There was a whole, fort built on the Unknown Empire server. I did some Mario Kart with some people and Splatoon with some people. Lots of Salmon Run, actually. That was pretty awesome. And overall, we donated roughly $418 that went toward Extra Life Charity to support kids in hospitals and such. And yeah, it was really awesome. I am now at this current juncture, debating on whether or not I want to switch over to streaming on Twitch and possibly uploading like a highlight reel to YouTube rather than the whole 2-hour thing. However, I don't want to jump ship just yet. I do want to think it over. I want to get your feedback on that before I do anything. So I'll be kind of doing my usual thing until I make that decision. So streams on YouTube will continue until I decide otherwise, or get your feedback on it, or either or. Either way, it won't be happening for a little bit. I've still got some more stuff to look into and things of that nature, so yeah, it's kind of a thing. I really did enjoy it, though. It was a good time. And it seems to be less hard on my computer. I don't know if that's an actual thing or not. Again, more to look into. If it is, that's honestly going to be a big factor because my setup's kind of limited right now, and I want to make it last as long as possible. And if whatever Twitch has got going on is a little bit easier on my hardware, then it only makes sense for me to swap over. But again, more research. For now, however, I just kind of want to say, for anybody that was able to make it to that live stream, thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for donating and showing your support and being awesome. I know that my friend Deb was able to watch. I don't know if any of my other IRL friends were able to watch, but if they were, thank you so much. And if you weren't and couldn't make it, that's totally cool. I totally get it. Life goes on. The world is a rough place to be in right now, so yeah, it totally makes sense. I ultimately, at this point, I'm just glad that we were able to do some good in this honestly crappy world right now. It's just, there are good things in the world, and it's important to keep that in mind despite all the not so great things going on right now that shouldn't be ignored, but the good shouldn't be ignored either, I feel. So I'm glad that we were able to do some sort of good in this awful climate and, hopefully make a difference to some people that really, really need it. But yeah, I think that's going to be enough of that. I don't really have anything in terms of updates or anything like that for now. It's pretty much just all that, brain fart thought scenario stuff happening. But I guess now we can get on to the Q&A. So, I ended up with 3 questions. One of them is kind of like a 2-parter, and the other 2 are just general gaming questions. So, we shall see. I'm just gonna kind of get into it and see what happens. There's one question that I received that I've been thinking about for a long time. And I still don't know how to answer it, so we might as well start with it. This is from Kento on Twitter. He actually sent this to me quite a while ago. But yeah, we might as well get into question 1. This is the 2-parter question. So Kento asks, what is a choice in your life that you made that you regretted or still regret? Also, what's one that you were super happy for making? So, um, this is honestly a really difficult question to answer because there's lots of stuff that happened in my life that I don't like. There's stuff that I can say that happened rather poorly. Do I regret them necessarily? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because like there's been decisions like, you know, getting into relationships that were not the best in the end for a variety of reasons. On both sides. And both of them started out great. I was extremely happy for making the decisions that I had and stuff like that. And, you know, long stories short, things didn't end particularly well. And, you know, arguably I could say, I mean, if I really wanted to, I could say, yeah, I regret it. But honestly, I don't, because there were good times within both scenarios and there were good things that did happen. Would I do it again? Probably not. If I had to make those decisions all over again, knowing what I know now, if I could predict the future back then, I probably wouldn't have, because it would have saved me and, you know, the other parties a little bit of heartache and headache and, you know. But ultimately, I can say I learned a lot about myself during those situations and stuff like that. So it's like, I mean, yeah, they didn't end up great, but do I regret them? Uh, not not really. I'm not proud of them, but I can't say that I regret them. And I mean, there's other things in my life. Like, do I regret really, really wanting to go to the school for the blind as a kid? Honestly, no. As much as that didn't go well for a variety of reasons, ultimately, I was a kid back then and I made a decision that I thought would be, you know, best for me. And ultimately, I didn't really have a say in that decision anyway, because it was my parents' decision to send me there, and you know, they thought it would be best for me as well, and stuff like that. And for a long time, it was actually really great, and a lot of the friends I met there, I still have today in real life and stuff like that. So, yeah, there was many issues, and if I looked at only those, then yeah, I could say I regret that. But again, there was good, and because of that good, I can't necessarily say that I regret it. There are minor things that I could say there was immediate regret for, like, I don't know, playing certain sports and spraining my ankle or something like that. But I feel like, I mean, there probably is one that I could say that I regret, but like, I can't really pinpoint it, to be honest with you. Just because, like, honestly, when you look back on stuff, there's always something that you can look back on that there's two sides to everything, you know? And ultimately, it kind of depends on the results of those two sides and stuff like that. And, you know, people look at things differently. So maybe someone would regret the same things that I decide, yeah, weren't great, but I don't necessarily regret. You know, if there's one thing I could say that I do regret a little bit, it's having to, or I guess feeling the need to step away from a friendship due to some stuff that happened, and it kind of turned out to be a misunderstanding in the end, sort of deal, and I stopped talking to them for a little while. And we have since reconnected and stuff like that. Now, there was a decision I made fairly recently that I may come to regret, and I hope not. A former friend of mine reached out to me fairly recently and left a voicemail. Apparently, she changed her number and stuff and still has mine for some reason. And, basically, she originally, I stopped speaking to her because she accused me of being a selfish bitch when I told her that I was trying to take care of my family and stuff like that, and could not always speak to her on demand. She basically wanted me to be her therapist, and I told her I can't do that. Not only am I no substitute for a mental health professional, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff right now as well, and I can't, as much as I'm willing to hear you out, I can't always. And she was one of those ones that if you didn't pick up the phone for any reason, she would continuously call and call and call until next thing you know, you've seen 30 calls in less than 10 minutes. So, yeah, it was kind of intense. And so she left me this voicemail a couple weeks back and apologized and everything like that. And ultimately, I decided not to contact her again because I'm like, you know what? I've been through this before with her, and maybe she has changed. I do want to believe that she's, learned something from this and was able to, better herself and stuff for her sake and stuff like that. But I chose not to get in touch with her again, just partly because it's like I am skeptical, honestly, and I'm gonna leave it at that because it's like, you know what? I don't want to get back into something where I'm unintentionally holding that against someone and stuff like that. And you know what? Maybe she has worked on it and stuff like that. And if she has, great. You know what? I don't wish her any ill will or anything like that. But I feel like it might be best for both of us to not be on speaking terms that way. I don't like hate her or anything. I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna leave the situation alone, basically. And I potentially may come to regret it. I don't at the moment, but I'm not happy about the decision, but I'm not like, unhappy about it. It's kind of one of those iffy situations. And I don't know, like there's stuff like that where I'm like, it's kind of iffy. And like when I say I don't regret something, it's not that I don't feel bad about it or don't feel negatively about the situation or something like that. It's just there's just a lot of complicated BS. Now, if I were to move on to the more positive side of the question, what is one decision that you were really like super happy for making? There are several, actually. Despite the struggles that I've been going through as of late, you guys may know about that from Minnycast number 47 and stuff like that. And honestly, I've kind of been relaying them throughout the entirety of the Minnycast existence. But either way, I do not regret, coming here or moving here to where I'm at and getting out of a relationship that turned out to be abusive and unhealthy for both parties. Honestly, I won't deny my part in that. And at the time, I didn't regret signing up for therapy because that was very helpful at the time. I suppose if I were to go back to the first question and say, is there anything I regret? It's leaving therapy. That would probably be my true answer to that. And I'm sorry it took me this long to ramble like an idiot until I did. Though I've already explained why I've had to. It's just due to lack of affordability and the need to, pay for rent, food, and stuff. I'm very happy for eventually making the decision to join the Unknown Empire, which I realize I'm answering the question of someone from the Unknown Empire, so there is bias there. But honestly, that community means the world to me. And I don't think I would be where I am now without them. I don't think I would be in the, state I am without their encouragement and stuff like that. Because if it wasn't for them, I would probably be much, much worse. In addition to my real life friends and family and stuff that are doing their best to be supportive and stuff like that too. Excuse me. But, yeah, I absolutely don't regret joining that, despite the challenges that we're facing right now as well in terms of figuring out ways to make our roleplay more accessible and stuff like that, and things like that's separate from the fact that these people are some of my best friends in the world. So, yeah, I would never regret meeting people that became my best friends, even the ones that I ended up cutting ties with. I don't regret meeting them. I did have great times with all of them. I don't regret having the pizza I ate just now. But seriously, I also don't regret attempting to, you know, be independent and moving out on my own and stuff like that, despite, again, the challenges that I face. That I'm not the only one that faces them. I don't mean to sound like I do. But you know, they are still challenges and everybody faces them differently. So, you know. And yeah, I mean, I don't regret starting this channel. I'm very happy with where it is right now and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, you might be looking at it going, I mean, look at your sub count, look at your view count, you could be getting so much more. And yeah, I probably could. I'll work up to it. When I get there, with what I'm doing, once I get there, if I manage to get there, I can say, yeah, I've earned it. And the people that stuck with me are the people that'll stick with me, you know, going forward. And that will be amazing, because so far, that's been amazing. And, you know, it's just a little, I've managed to create some little corner of something that is truly mine. And I'll always be proud of that, no matter what happens to it. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of corny. It's kind of dumb, I guess, but that's just how I feel at the moment. So yeah, I really don't know how else to answer that question. Like, these are very broad, vague answers, and I do apologize for that. But yeah, I don't know. That's just how I feel. That's just what's going through my mind at the moment. And like I said, this is a very hard set of questions for me to answer. So unfortunately, that's about all I can get out of it for you. And yeah, I guess I had a lot more to say about it than I initially thought. But I feel like we're going to move on to the next question right now. And this comes from Edge. He is, I believe he's still a member of the Unorthodox SMP. And he sent this to me on the Minchino Clan Discord. By the way, that link should be in the description. So feel free to join that, actually. I would love to hear from you. Excuse me. Okay, so Edge asks, you may not love Redstone, oh my god, I can't read. You may not love Redstone, but what would be one Redstone thing you enjoy using in building? Be it even buttons or iron doors, even okay. Yeah, no. I can't read. So, okay, so he's like, yeah, what would be something you use in Redstone, or some Redstone stuff that you use in building, regardless of what the item is basically what he's asking. Adding no judgment. Fair enough, my guy. Fair enough. Okay, so poorly read question aside, yeah, I'm not super huge on Redstone. I definitely have a respect for it because you can do a lot of amazing things, and you know, it was probably one of the greatest additions to Minecraft, honestly. I am terrible at it, however, so I tend not to use it very much. I tend to stick to aesthetics in general, building and stuff like that. I've recently tried to incorporate more redstone into what I do, but for the most part, I'll tend to take, you know, certain redstone components and use them in builds. Like, say, for example, sometimes I will use hoppers as like bathroom sinks or something like that if I'm not using cauldrons. And I will use iron trapdoors sometimes. Sometimes I'll use them. I used it recently on the Minnycast for like a barbecue design, and I'll use like powered rails, which, I mean, I'll power the block under it so that the powered rails are lit up so it looks like the barbecue is actually active or something like that, and just get the you know, iron doors the way they are, so it's like acts as like a cover for the barbecue and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll use iron trapdoors for like, you know, not counter space, but like kind of like a table, I guess. Most of the time I'll use pressure plates for placemats and stuff like that. Or I do remember one time back in my creative build series, I had flower beds that were lined with acacia logs. This was before the acacia wood was a thing. And I used stone pressure plates on top of them, partly because of the texture pack I had on at the time. It was a very modern, it was like a modern HD texture pack kind of thing. So the stone pressure plates actually blended in with the acacia log texture really well and covered up all the orange. So I basically did it as an easy, as non-intrusive as possible way to hide something. Obviously, sometimes I'll use redstone lamps for lighting and things like that, as, you know, I'm pretty sure that's their primary purpose. I have seen them used in contraptions to indicate whether something is on or off, which is ingenious. So there is that. And I'll use buttons to either, you know, decorate things to make it look like, oh, there's a drawer here, or there's a cupboard here, if I'm not using trapdoors to indicate that. And I'll use them, it's an old trick, I'll use it with an item in conjunction with an item frame and a block of wool to simulate, like, toilet paper, like a toilet paper roll kind of deal for bathrooms and such. And sometimes pressure plates, depending on what toilet design I'm using, will be used for, like, the toilet lid and things of that nature. And I'll just try to find as creative a use as I can. Sometimes I'll use buttons as, like, computer mice, and then a pressure plate for the keyboard, stuff like that. I think of them less as redstone components and more just, you know, what can I use these for in terms of building. And this isn't really redstone, this is just sort of potion brewing, I guess, but I got this idea from Good Times with Scar, potion brewers as like a milkshake maker kind of thing, which is kind of great, honestly. It's kind of great. So yeah, it's stuff like that. Like, I just kind of generally, I don't really use pistons for much in building. I have used them as tables before. I'd set them in the ground and have them powered underneath so they stick up a little bit. And they look like those tables that you'd see at like a food court or something. So I've done that in the past. And depending on what you're doing with it, it can look really, really good. And things of, you know, things like that. But I don't tend to use many redstone things at one time. Of course, redstone torches can be like mood lighting, I guess. I'm just thinking of ideas that I have used them before. I don't use them often, but, you know, I have also used, I believe I've done this in the Minnycast and everything. I've used daylight sensors as like solar panels and stuff like that. In fact, in the modern HD texture pack I used to use, they actually looked like solar panels, which was really cool to me. So I'm sure that many people have used them for that, because I mean, they basically are solar panels or lunar panels depending on the setting, I guess. But yeah, so just general stuff like that just kind of adds a little something to your build, things of that nature, you know. Switches as levers as shower heads, stuff like that. I'm just sort of trying to think of all the things I've used redstone stuff for, and it's not coming to me quickly, but it's coming to me. So yeah, like, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. It all just depends on your imagination and what you can come up with in terms of, like, you just work with what you got, and as long as what you're building looks like what you're building, it doesn't really matter what you use to make it. Like, you know, even something as simple as stairs as crown molding and stuff, you can do upside down stairs now, which has obviously been a thing forever. But I mean, you know, that's just an example. Like, you don't have to use stairs as stairs, you know, you don't have to use, like, you can use anything for whatever you want. Like, you can use sand for walls depending on the texture you want to go for. Even if it's not specifically, oh, I'm gonna make my wall out of sand because I want it to look like sand. Maybe that sand looks like something else to you. Maybe it looks like some other material to you that you're like, you know what? This is the closest fit to what I want to go for, so I'm gonna use it, you know? It's the same thing with redstone components kind of thing. like, I'll often use iron doors for fridges. I don't think they really look like fridge doors, but it's like the closest thing that I've been able to come up with. So, you know, there's that. It's little things like that, and you know what? It can be pretty cool. Like, sometimes you can come up with crazy things from, I want to say nothing, but it's really not nothing. From things that are meant to be other things. Like, you can just repurpose everything in Minecraft, and I think that's amazing. But I think I've rambled on about that for a good little while. We're gonna go on to our final question, which was actually asked by my brother John. He was like, I feel like I want to come up with a question for your Q&A. And we're gonna go on to that one. And he basically asked me, what was your favorite game before Minecraft? Now I know he knows the answer to this question, but maybe some people don't. And I have had many over the years. I have had many. For a long time, it was whatever was the current Pokemon game. And now it's even hard for me to say what my favorite Pokemon game is, because honestly, like, it's kind of a toss-up between, you know, Black and White, or, you know, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, or even Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, just because I have such a connection to those. Even Pokemon Crystal is definitely up there on the list. There's a lot of really, really good ones. So even among them, it's hard to decide what my favorite is. I definitely know what it used to be, because like it would just kind of be whatever was current at the time for the most part. And yeah, you know, good times were had that way. For a very long time, I would say that it was Ocarina of Time, and it is still definitely one of my favorites to this day. Now I'm thinking like Wind Waker has kind of overtaken Ocarina in that spot in my mind, though not by that much, because they're both very good games for very different reasons. Obviously Earthbound is very close to the top, and it was at the top at one point. Dust and Elysian Tale is very, very close to the top. It's like, honestly, if I were to pick a top 5, not including Minecraft, because Minecraft is obviously number 1, so if I were to go from 2 to 6, if I start from 2, I'd probably say Dust, Earthbound, Wind Waker, Ocarina, and like, I don't know. There's lots of really good ones that I love. I would say Splatoon, but like I don't know. I wouldn't say it's in the top in the top 6. It's definitely in the top 10, but it's not that 6th slot for sure. I don't know. Yeah, it's really hard to say, because there's a lot of great games out there that I can say, oh, this is one of my favorites. Because like, I mean, I have a hard time with it just because there's a lot of reading, but I mean, there's obviously the Ace Attorney trilogy. They're all great. And I haven't really played future Phoenix Wright games, so I don't know if they're just as great. I've heard that they are, but I can't speak to that. I can only speak about the first 3. Pretty much like any other Zelda game, honestly, save for like the original, just was not. I've attempted it, the first 2, I guess, the original Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2. Was not as big on. I absolutely respect them for what they are, but they are not on my favorites list, honestly. They're not on a hate list, but they're kind of on my, yeah, I respect them, but that's kind of about it list. I don't know what to pick for a 6th. But I mean, that's a lot of games right there. I mean, I guess I can add whatever my favorite Pokemon game is, which, I mean, I guess I might as well attempt to answer that seriously, because I mean, if I look at my favorite 4 generations, I guess, or 3? 4. Yeah, because it would be 2, 3, 4, and 5 are my favorite generations. If I look at 3, if I look at 2, sorry, we'll start at 2. I spent a lot of time watching my brother play Pokemon Silver and stuff like that, and helping him through the games and such. So it's obviously something I spent a lot of my early childhood with. In addition to Gen 1, but I never really played the Gen 1 games first. Like, honestly, my first real experience playing through a Pokemon game was playing through Pokemon Gold, or helping my brother through Silver and stuff like that. And then, obviously, like, Crystal came along, so I have a lot of personal connections with Gen 2, and it's great. Gen 3 for me was even better. My brother gave me Pokemon Sapphire. I eventually got Pokemon Emerald for Christmas one year. And, I spent so much time playing through Gen 3, and all that time, you know, there was a lot that went in there. There was a lot of cool stuff that, you know, the game, honestly, to me, looked amazing for a GBA game. It had a lot going for it in my eyes. Like, there was a lot of fun to be had. I was one of those ones that did not mind the fact that there was so much water in the game. I do, looking back now, understand why people hated it back then. I personally was like, whatever, y'all are complaining too much. But no, I really do understand. And it's just, I don't know, to me, it was always a great time to just go through it. Sometimes, some days I would just literally go on there and just literally run around the region and things like that. I did the same thing with Generation 4. I actually got that as a grade 8 graduation present from my parents, and I got Diamond, my brother got Pearl. Eventually, we both ended up buying Platinum and stuff like that. But for Diamond and Pearl, you know, I played it constantly. I got it toward the end of the school year, and usually the last week of school was spent, like, not really doing much because the teachers didn't really have any work for us to do, but we were still required to be there. So I was basically allowed to spend most of my day playing Pokemon, and I remember just spending hours upon hours in the underground tunnels, hours just, you know, playing and replaying the game, and just going through the Elite Four like a million times, and having great fun with it. Diamond and Pearl was the first time I ever attempted to competitively train any Pokemon. I still have that team to this day. They are not, like, perfect Pokemon by any means, but they're very, very near and dear to my heart, and I will always do what I can to keep them around. I've kept them all the way up until Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So, you know, they've certainly been around. They've been around for like over 10 years, which is crazy to me. So, I mean, ultimately, that alone is a really good reason why Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum would be at the top of that list. And I list all three just because those games are so similar. The only real differences between the three are what Pokemon you can find, and in Platinum's case, slight story differences that honestly take it a little bit above Diamond and Pearl for me. So I guess if anything, I would put Platinum in that slot. Black and White, however, really great to me story-wise, at least by Pokemon standards. It really struck a chord with me at the time with what I was going through and stuff. There were certain themes there that really resonated with me, and that's one of the main reasons why I love it. I'm a sucker for a good story, so, you know. But honestly, just thinking about this, like, I mean, Gen 2 is more nostalgia for me. They feel great to play. I have a great time playing them. They're just really fun. Same sort of thing with Gen 3. Gen 4 and 5 are more, like, there are more definite reasons why I like them, aside from the way they look and sound graphically and stuff. I hated the way Gen 4 sounded and the fact that it ran so slowly and things like that. But I do feel like I have more fondness outside of story for Gen 4 than I do any other generation. So I guess it would be Platinum in that 6th slot. It's a very long-winded way to decide what my favorite games are. Honestly, this whole thing is just more me explaining it to myself than anything else. And I guess that's pretty much the answer to these questions. I've pretty much turned them into a long ramble. So yeah, I do apologize if that's not your style of thing. But yeah, so like those are my favorite games aside from Minecraft, which has become pretty much my favorite game of all time and has brought me closer to an amazing community of people that, like I said before, would not trade for anything. So yeah, that I guess brings us to the end of the 3 questions. If you guys have any more questions that you'd like me to answer, feel free to post them in the comments or on Discord and Twitter and stuff like that. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Or if you just have any thoughts about what I've answered in the first place. Feel free to share your thoughts and stuff like that. And yeah, I would absolutely, like I said, love to hear from you. But I think that's pretty much going to be it for today. I don't really have any words. I don't have anything else to say. I'm apparently stumbling over my words and stuff. I think I'm like talking too quickly or whatever. I don't know. My brain's just going. Also, I need a drink. So, I'm going to quit rambling for you guys today. So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to check out any other series I have on this channel, as well as joining the Minchino clan on Discord if you haven't already. Once again, before I leave, I'd like to thank anybody who was able to, you know, join in on the Unknown Empire 24-hour charity live stream for Extra Life. It was really, really great, and I appreciate everybody being there who was there. But yeah, until next time, you guys, Minny out.